All right, AJ, take it
Yes.
away. We're doing a release.
So let's try to do the thing. Share. Now, I wonder if I can share. I don't want to share your faces. I want to try to share the release checklist and a terminal where I'm doing things. So I'm gonna try to do that. Oh, you just went muted there, George.
Yeah, I usually just minimize the meet window and then just share your screen and then split them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do blow out of Slack because who knows what's going on. Okay, share this other screen.
Good luck.
What could go wrong? Um, cool. So, do you all see a release checklist? Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
Okay. So some of this, some of this was a checklist that existed already. I was going through these steps for the first time myself, and just added some pieces in. This for anyone who has used PyPI to upload packages before, you can set up PyPI accounts. I've just added in some kind of basic setup for getting for defining both the real PyPI repository, and also test PyPI, where I published last week, and just linking to the publish the Python Packaging Authority's documentation on their recommended method of using keyring to store your API tokens, rather than baking that in, hard coding that into a config file. So that's just some background setup, so that when we go to publish later, Twine will pull that stuff out and theoretically just work. So next bits are clean checkout and clean virtual env. So I will do that. Let's see. Yeah, we'll do Cloud Custodian.
Can you up the font size a little bit?
I can.
There we go.
Is that good? Cool. So we're going fully complete. This isn't a new work tree. This isn't just a new branch or anything. We're going a full clone, not even a bare clone, because that would be, I mean, a shallow clone, because that would be smart. No, I'm doing the whole thing into a new directory. Okay, so we've got a release directory, and I'll create a so we've got an active environment here, and we'll install all the things into this environment. And this piece does take a little while, so as it's going, if anyone else has questions, comments, have done similar things, I don't know if have any of you tried to, Darren, I know you've done plenty of dev installs. Stephen, have you done any of this stuff?
I tried to do the unit testing thing, and I
Yeah.
miserably. I couldn't figure it out at all.
Yeah,
I was like, I just bitch and let everybody else fix my problem.
and you know what? That's totally fine, because right now it is a bit awkward, and I know we've got some work in progress to make this install a little bit cleaner. Because right now, yeah, every time I see this and it's resolving these dependency trees separately,
Yeah,
it hurts a little bit. So we'll get there.
I tried. I actually tried. I forget what my issue was a few years ago, and I ended up just patching. I would install and then patch.
Yeah, that is fine. So if you were gonna to work on something like this, would you prefer to work just on your local machine, do it all locally, or have some kind of a web-based or container-based dev environment? Do you have
container-based would be my preference.
You'd want container. How about you, Darren? I'm just polling while we have time.
For me, I'm more used to just doing it locally.
Yeah. Same. I've been doing a bit of both, but feeling like going the container way might be a little more welcoming for some new folks, or at least having that as an option. But
Yeah, I work mostly on ARM, and
oh, okay.
I don't even have that at home. I don't think. Maybe one of my Macs might. I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay, so for the folks following along at home, we should have an environment that has all the custodian bits installed into it. Then the next piece, which I've sort of already done, the last release was 16. So this was something that I ran into when I was testing. So it's good to see it immortalized on recording. I had to go and pip install the Docker module because this changelog tool uses previous versions. If we're going to generate a changelog from 0916 to 0917 or to current, it's going to spin up the Docker version of C7N from that previous version, and it's doing that through Python code. So we need the Docker module installed. I'm actually not going to install that right now because I've got a, let's see. Got a release. Oh, and I'll bump the font size here. A release drafted with the changelog. So I would call that out as a note. One other thing that I noticed from the changelog is that, again, because it uses Docker and we don't have the AWS Cloud Control API provider, the AWS CC, included in Docker, it will detect any AWS CC changes as schema changes. So it just balloons this whole section. So manual editor notes here are that I had to generate that changelog with that Docker module installed and then trim the schema changes section. That I suspect going forward will install the AWS CC into Docker, but I don't know that for sure. But okay, so that's the changelog. That's the only piece we have to do there. The next step is this freeze setup. Actually, so I'll make a frozen setup. And what this one's going to do is right now we have all the dependencies specified in. We have all the dependencies specified as version ranges. It already finished in here. Let's see. And George, if this is too much detail, let me know. I'm just trying to things that would have been useful for me to know going forward.
This is all good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the normal setup.py that we have in all these projects here, it'll show a version range. So it'll say, hey, for our complete, we just need something that's at least this version. And that comes out of our poetry dependency specification out of the lock file. And when we do this frozen setup, it's going to say, no, we're not just going to say this version range. We're going to pin that. We're going to say, this is our latest thing from that we're locked at. We're going to specify exactly this. So when you go to pip install, if our complete happens to bump a new version next week, when you do a pip install of C7N, you're still going to get this 2.0 because that's pinned in our release, so that we don't have adders or our complete change or something and it breaks us between releases. And that's similar across all the dependencies. For most changes, we will, as we're going through and creating release bits, we'll go in and update the changes. We'll commit them back to the repo. For this, as far as I can see, we don't commit these changes because they're baked into the wheels that we publish, and we don't actually commit these back to master. I'm not sure why, but that's what I've seen, so I'm going to keep doing it. Okay. And so after we got the publish, so we had a step in the release checklist about commenting out PyWin32. I believe that we've got that fixed, so we shouldn't need to comment anything out. There's we were losing at some point in the past. This line was it was losing this Windows platform constraint, So it was showing a PyWin32 dependency on multiple platforms. So folks would try to install it, and it would say, "Oh, we've got no PyWin32." So we had to remove that, and I haven't seen that anymore. So that's good. Okay. And the poetry install we would have already done, so that's cool. The next step, and this is a change since the last release, is that there used to be a make PKG build publish wheel. And what I've changed is making a PKG build wheel, because then we can build all the wheels locally and install them into a new environment without publishing them anywhere, and just test to see if there's any, gosh darn it. I know I'm already in the poster shell. This would work. Oh, this is for checking. Okay, so what this is probably an issue with. See. Colorama is one of those packages that we've seen that will kind of flap between dependencies. This is one of those cases where it's tedious that we have multiple dependency trees. So here we go. Top level, we're installing Colorama. GCP, we're removing Colorama, and then nothing else is installing it again. So this is one of those cases where it would be really nice to have a single dependency tree. What we're doing with Colorama there is using twine check to just validate that our wheels look okay. So I think for that purpose, we can do a, we'll just install the top level package, and that should just up Colorama back in and remove remove typing extensions. Gosh. Okay. I'm not too worried about losing that typing extensions here while we're building, but that'll be good. We'll be able to do the wheel install into a new environment. This all builds since we have Colorama in. That's cool. Okay. So what we have now is we've got wheel files built in for all of the projects, and something we can inspect those. This is not really in the checklist. This is just curiosity or fleshing things out a little bit. Wheel file is just a zip file with some metadata in there. And if we look at the metadata, this is what's actually going to get pushed out to PyPI. So if we go and look at C7N0917, we'll see these as all dependencies. And so that's just worth going through and seeing that we've got the pinned versions, the hard versions. This is as much for me as it is for people following along, just to make sure this looks legitimate. That's cool. And the next thing would be to create a new fresh virtual environment. Let's call it release test. Okay. And then for that, so we've got nothing in here now. I just did that. Okay. So for here, I'm going to try to find all the wheel files that we've built and then install them directly. We're not going to go pull the packages from PyPI. We're just going to try to install all the locally built wheels into the same environment and make sure that we don't see any weirdo errors, and make sure that everything in there is everything installs into the same environment, no conflicts. That yanked version is because of an older Azure dependency. I would love to get rid of that. If anyone on the call or anyone watching has familiarity with Azure Data Lake Store, then it would be cool seeing if we could update that. Okay, so that installed a bunch of stuff. And so the locally built versions that we have, looks like we're all matching. So we've got 0917, it installed 0917. All of those, all those .16s look good. Cool. And we didn't, so what we would have seen on previous releases where we've had conflicts is when we tried to install that C7N wheel next to, say, Azure, it would throw a pip error. It would say, whoop, no, can't do that. There's a conflict with James path between C7N and C7N Azure, and pip's resolver would scream at us. So the fact that that's not doing that, and then it installs, and that we see that the wheels have all the pin versions, that makes me feel pretty confident about things working. The next thing would be to, so let's see, try to run something, run some policy. Okay, so I'm able to run policies across a few different environments. Okay. I can run EC2. I can run some Azure stuff. I can run GCP. I'm seeing the current version. Cool. I'm seeing a bunch of stuff in here. Cool. Seeing resources across all different providers. That's great. Lots of filters. Cool. Right. So those are some basic sanity checks, just showing that we're able to install everything. We see the right schema. We see the right versions. We've got a release drafted. George, I think you've been through and seen some of this stuff. Anything look especially fishy so far?
No, none so far.
Cool.
I do want to check this file into the repo, but then it's also a goal to not have to do this. So
Yeah, exactly. This is so as I've been going through some of this stuff, some of the updates I've made were with the eye toward like what can we automate here rather than looking up what can we just kind of script pattern match things. Okay, and like this manual this manual update of the package repo. That's a little bit fishy, but okay. So with all that stuff done, and then the next piece would be to actually do the release. So this release is drafted. We can look at previous releases to just confirm the tag. Yeah, tag is just 0. And again, this would be something that we would typically just do through typically do through the command line. We'll script this so we don't have to do it manually. But all this stuff looks okay. George, I'm going to hit the create a discussion for this release in the announcement section, just so that we see something pop out there.
Yeah, I'd love to see I'd love to see it actually work.
Okay, let's see. Oh, we weren't able to create a discussion. Oh,
Oh, I think you had to give it a title. Go back down.
I thought I did give it a title.
Huh.
Yeah, I thought this was the title. All right. Well, that
All
piece,
right.
I guess we'll go back
Good,
to.
good to know.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay. Let's go back here just because, and then the last piece should be to do this, and then we'll see. So I actually haven't done this piece yet, the publish to real PyPI. So we'll see if this works or if I get, oh no. That's because I'm getting a password. So that means that I didn't set up my keyring properly. And I'm going to have to do that on another screen. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to either stop sharing for that one or do something weird. You can all watch me paste my password into an input form repeatedly rather than troubleshooting keyring. But hey, when I wasn't recording and published a test PI, it worked flawlessly.
Huh. Is there a different set of creds between the test and the? That's got to be it, right?
Oh, interesting. So I can't publish policy stream. Huh. Yeah, well, it is a different set of creds, that's for sure, but interesting that I couldn't do policy stream. Let's see. Huh. All right. Well, I'm gonna have to troubleshoot that one, and that I can do. I'm okay doing that offline because we went through the first few at least.
Sure.
Wait, and let's see. Let's look at that one again. So that would have gotten GCP, Cube, OpenStack, Mailer. So we didn't get to AWS CC or Azure. All right, that's not great. But if Stephen or Darren, if one of you want to try to do like a pip install with the upgrade on C7N, that should pick up 0917 now.
Doing it now.
Oh, wait, wouldn't have grabbed C7N.org. Yeah.
It's 917, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, so it pulled that. Okay, so I've got to troubleshoot policy stream so I can continue publishing the rest. That could
I
be,
said
that could
earlier,
be,
I rebuild all my Dockers. I noticed today I had to, with the new C7N org, I had to change the build order. I'm installing CLI 2 on the same container.
uh-huh.
And I noticed that if I did the pip install of C7N before the install of the CLI 2, it didn't work.
Oh, interesting. Do you have,
I
is there,
can redo it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to
Like-
see the issue and try to reproduce that one.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, why is this, the only thing that's happening after the install was the CLI, and it worked fine in my test bed. So I was like, it's got to be just something with the CLI. It's messing up Custodian, but
Huh.
that was, yeah, I just rewrote my Docker file.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
But
Okay.
I don't know why it would have, right? It shouldn't have.
No, I don't think that should make a difference. But I'm curious what might have changed that made that ordering matter.
The install for the CLI is ridiculous anyway, though, for AWS. Is
Yeah. How are you installing it? Are you grabbing like?
odd install, the / install where it's
Yeah. That okay.
horrible. You know a
right,
better way,
that's
let me know, because
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think I tend to do it through like Homebrew, Linux Brew, whatever. But I know there's the install that
this
shell
fall.
script that they give you works too.
Well, if I do, you can do, if you install with pip, they don't install the old or a one, whatever, old version of CLI.
All right. So I think George, we can probably kill the recording, and I will go follow up and troubleshoot the policy stream.
All
Unless
right.
there's anything else recording relevant you think.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, it's working fine.